coming to you live on another Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us once again. We're here trying to give the play-by-play in an ever-changing, volatile market. So I just want to get right on into it. Thank you for joining us once again. But let's go ahead and shrink my little head down and get into this update. And of course, I'm asking everybody to go to reports on housing within YouTube. So navigate over to YouTube and look for reports on housing. And please smash the like button, subscribe to our channel. We need to get more subscribers and more likes so that we can, work with those YouTube algorithms so that we can get our viewership up. And really what that's about is getting the good word out there. So hunkering down deepens. Yes, we have, this is something that, a term that I came up with to describe what people or homeowners are not really selling. They're hunkering down. And first, we need to talk about the Fed. The Fed met and at the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. They met for a couple of days. And then yesterday, they made an announcement. And of course, it was to nobody's surprise. The Fed minutes, the speech changed a little bit. People were looking for some sort of a pivot. Yeah, there was a little bit in the changing of the words of prepared speech. But once it got down to the Q&A, going to be steady as she goes. And there was a Fed rate hike of 0.75%. And this is the fourth 0.75% increase in a row. And now the high range is now at 4%. And this is a big change, and it's going to continue to go up. Everybody believes it's only going to be 0.5% when they meet again next month. Hard to believe it's already December when they meet again next month, and then they're going to take it down to quarter point rises after that. But we'll have to see because there's a lot that can happen between now and when they meet next month. And as a matter of fact, they will have 2 CPI readings because there's going to be a consumer price index that comes out next week, as well as one that comes out in December while they're meeting. So this could, of course, affect the velocity of the next Fed change in the short-term rate. Now, this is the federal funds rate. They've gone up 0.75 of a point. You can see this is going in backwards in history. They're right now at 4%. It's the highest level since 2008. And you can see the velocity of how quickly we came up because they started to rise the short-term rate back in 2016 before we hit COVID, and they dropped it down to 0 again. But they were at 0 for a long time, and we were pretty used to that 0%. And then slowly but surely, they began to hike that short-term rate starting in 2016, but it took them a while to get to, you could see it was like the slow, methodical increase. This time around, it is like straight up, it seems. And it is a gigantic change. Where right now, you can see over here, this is where Paul Volcker changed the short-term rate from 10 to 20%. And back then we had interest rates that hit 18% in 1981. But I want everybody to understand, this is the short-term rate. This is more equity line of credits and automobile loans, as well as credit card debt. And it's how money exchanges hands with big banks. But this is already what the Fed's going to do long term in bringing the short term rate up is that affects the appetite of investors for long term rates. And knowing where the Fed is going to be virtually going from 0 to 4% and what they've talked about getting all the way up towards 5% or beyond, that is kind of baked into the equation. That's why we've had interest rates that have already risen. And pretty much when they do these changes, we don't get a big change in the interest rates for the day, long-term interest rates. So they don't go hand in hand when they have the short-term rate rises. However, yesterday we did see it go up. Now realize that when Paul Volcker changed the short-term rate from 10 to 20, it was a doubling. This time around, they've gone from about 0.25% to 4%, and that is a 16-fold increase. And that is we were very used to zero for quite some time, and the market had gotten used to it. It's not just in the real estate market, but it's markets in general have gotten used to these low interest rates for automobile loans, for credit cards, for everything across the board. And it's really helped in tech stocks and things like that as well. So know that since they came out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, they had this economic forum that they do every single year. They came out of this thing and they talked about, gosh, we're going to inflict a lot of pain. We've talked about this week after week, but that pain is for real. And the reason that they're talking about all the pain is because they really want everybody to get it. And they want the stock market to get it. They want to make sure these interest rates continue to go up, is because they're still seeing some problems with not only inflation, but there's a big problem brewing on the job front side. And that is, if you see over here, it's hard to tell because of how distorted this is, but we actually had a rise in the number of job openings that came out, and it was way too hot. So there was way too many job openings, and we're going to soon get the latest read on unemployment. But right now, this is unemployment. You see this gap? That's a big gap. When you have unemployment levels really low versus where we have job openings, there are way too many jobs for the number of people that are looking. As a matter of fact, this is according to doing all the math. Indeed did this, and it's pretty close to, it's about 1.9 jobs for every job seeker. So they want to get this down lower. And you could see when we first went into the pandemic, it got down to, pretty close to, there was less than one job for every person looking for a job. So they don't want to get down to that level, but they definitely want to get to where it's 1-to-1. This is still way too hot. Now, they really want to get inflation under control and understand that there's going to be the CPI read that comes out next week. Based upon what happens with that consumer price index, we're looking at core. We're going to see what happens. The market will digest it, and either it will be too hot and interest rates will continue to go up, which we could get interest rates in the mid 7s, or it could start to see that inflation's coming down and we could get a little bit of an improvement in interest rates. Now, the inflation reads don't really change that much from month to month. So I'm not really looking at this thing to be a big game changer next week, but it could err on the side of being actually too hot. So we'll have to wait and see. Interest rates over time, you can see this at the start of the year to where they are today, going back 51 years. Each one of those lines is the change in interest rates over the course of a year. And I'm just going to show these two lines. This is 2022. This has been updated by Len Kiefer at Freddie Mac. And you can see how we have had the biggest change in interest rates since Freddie Mac started tracking interest rates 52 years ago. So that is a long, long time ago. And this is 1981. It surpassed 1981, and that's just because the Federal Reserve has gotten more and more aggressive as this year has progressed. And so interest rates today, when I snapped it today, I actually saw 10-year treasuries went up. So did mortgage-backed securities. It went up. Today, if you look at what the Mortgage News Daily's rate is for the day, it's at 7.3%. At 7.3%, you have to dial all the way back to December of 2000 to see a rate that is close to December up to 7.3%. And so far this year, we've gone all the way from 3.25 to that 7.3%, which is a more than doubling. This is gigantic. This leads us to what is going on with sellers. Because if you look at sellers, this giant yellow circle is how much, if you take, this is according to California Association of Realtors median detached price on a month-to-month basis. But if you plug in that median detached price and where interest rates are for the day, all the way on the left is January 2018, and you're at 2,213. And then we got as high as 2523. And then during the pandemic, we were 2319 down to 2208 to start the pandemic. And by the time we got to the end of the pandemic, we were at, not even the end of September of 2021, we were at $2,870 per month for the median detached home for all of Southern California. So it hadn't really changed from the beginning at 2213 to 2870. So you're just going up about $600 per month in that many years. But since then, Since then, we've just seen it continue to ratchet up. And then we started off this year and we had $3,520 per month. And that was January of 2022 with an interest rate of 3.45%. Since then, it's actually just gone way up. And where we are right now, if I plug in today's 7.3% interest rate, you're looking at $4,834 per month, which is an extra $2,000 per month from where we were in September of last year. So you could see that kind of a giant change. Most people that purchased during that big yellow circle. Their median, their payments are nice and low and fixed. Now, if they sold today and they purchased, even if they bought the same house, they're looking at a gigantic increase in how much they're going to pay. And as a result, home owners are hunkering down. And I've talked about it before. The statistic that we found nationally, we'll be updating this on a monthly basis. But California, 89% of everybody with a mortgage has an interest rate of 5% or lower. And keep in mind, that's like 60% of 40% of Californians own their home free and clear. So that's 60% have mortgages, and 89% have an interest rate of 5% or lower, and 71% have an interest rate at 4% or lower, and 29%, nearly a third, have an interest rate at 3% or lower. When they have these locked in fixed rates, they want to stay around. Might not be in love with it. They're definitely in love with their loan. They might want to make a move, but they're not going to make a move for because their payments are so low. It would be too big of a hit to their monthly budgets to purchase something else. So a lot of people are hunkering down. And there's some markets, I'm going to go over a lot of different markets besides SoCal, but SoCal, you could see right now, this is the month of October, it continues to trend down. And you can see the red line above it, how it was trending down, and all the lines typically trend down during this time of the year. However, if you look at where we are, we're close to where we were during the start of the pandemic. And that's where, for all of Southern California, we were missing 40% of all homes for that time of year. It was gigantic, right? But the number of missing for sale signs compared to the 3-year average prior to COVID, each one of those lines, by the way, each one of those lines is a year, the number of homes that come on the market on a monthly basis. So I've actually plotted out the number of homes that are coming on each month. So as far as comparing it to prior to COVID, 2017, 2018, and 2019, we hit COVID. And that's why I started tracking this, because fewer people were coming on the market. We were missing 24,000 homes for the year 2020 because of COVID. And then the following year, 2021, we were missing 19,600 homes, down 7%. And then we hit this year, and this year it's down 42,200, and it's off 17%. And this is this hunkering down stat that I was talking about. And it's only grown progressively worse as the year has progressed. In October, it was off 30%, missing 6,750 for sale signs just in the month of October. And this is why I wanted to do this report, because after doing this, I was going, it's so eye-opening that this is this trend that we were following, because it started really in July, which is, you could see where we peaked in June, and then it started coming down in July, and then August got lower, then September, kind of the same, then October, it even got lower. So you could see this trend is deepening during this time of the year, and we're going into the holidays. And typically the fewest number of the homes on the market come on the market during December. The second fewest come on in November, and January is not typically a month with a lot of homes coming on the market anyway. So we're going to have fewer homes coming on the market, combined with fewer homeowners, period, that are wanting to come on because of the hunkering down phenomenon that I was talking about. They're just simply, I just don't want to list my home because it would be too big of a stretch for our family budgets. As Los Angeles County, for the month of October, is missing 25% or 1,901 for sale signs. Orange County is off 35%, missing 1,042. Riverside's off 28%, missing 1,181. And San Bernardino's missing 33%, missing 1,033. San Diego's missing 37%, missing 1,597. Know that each one of these is a record for the year in the percentage down. And Ventura is off 36%, missing 310 signs. They don't have as many for sale signs in all of Ventura County. Phoenix is an area that I was tracking. I just wanted to show they're actually a little late to the party, but boy, are they catching up also. They're off 21% or missing 1,787 for sale signs. And Vegas is only off 11%, missing 510 for sale signs. They actually are in most of our supply demand models, the models that economists rely on, are kind of broken. We'll show you that later. However, Vegas is in already what I would refer to as a deep buyer's market. And on top of it, they don't have as many homeowners that are not placing their homes on the market compared to all the other markets I'm tracking. So Vegas seems to be hurting a little bit more, which would indicate that Vegas has more room on the downside because of it. And Bay Area is off 24%, missing nearly 1,700 signs. Sacramento Valley is off 32%, missing 1,570 signs. So you could see missing for sale signs is the thing all over the place. There are a few markets. I knew Vegas might be one of those that had scratched my head, and certainly they did not disappoint. Now, as far as the housing inventory is concerned, but first, let's get into our sponsor once again, Jason Thibodeau from the Thibodeau Morel Group. Jason is with JMJ Financial. You can reach him at 714-330-8263. Thank you again, Jason, for your continued sponsorship. He's an incredible human being and knows his market, understands loans. He's been doing this for decades. He just has a really good style in when you sit down with him with the knowledge set that he has. He's going to do what's best for the client. That's for darn sure. And he has this home buyer EMD protection program, the earnest money deposit protection. That's when you're worried that I might not get my deposit back if I put all this money down. Well, he's got a program where you put some money down up front. You'll get that money back once the loan funds. Otherwise, you'll get the whole thing back, and that's what the deposit program is, up to $50,000. It protects or 5% of the purchase price. He also has a lock and shop mortgage option, because like I said, you don't know what's going to happen next week. If you're shopping for a mortgage, you haven't locked in, and you want to lock and shop, this might be a direction you might want to go, given the fact that next week we're having a CPI read come out. If that CPI read comes out too hot, which I don't know, nobody knows what it's going to look like, but when it does come out, that's going to be very indicative of the direction that rates will go for the rest of the year. We'll get one more CPI read in December that will further give us a clue as to where things are headed. Also has a 2-1 buy down mortgage where you're able to buy down your mortgage rate with a certain amount of points. This is great for sellers. If you want to, instead of reducing your cost, you want to throw out, hey, you know what, we'll pay these buy downs and we can get your interest in your payments down to X. That's something you can market as well. And their methodology is simple. We don't make promises we can't keep. They're going to take care of their clients. So please give Jason Thibodeau at JMJ Financial a call. You can reach him at 714-330-8263. That's 714-330-8263. Thanks again, Jason, for your continued sponsorship. Now, getting back to the housing inventory and hunkering down. Well, you know what? I do want you to understand that there is still inventory is remaining higher than where I thought it would be at this time of the year. And that was because in August, we started to see that we hit a peak. We hit a peak and we were actually coming down at the very start of August. And then there was a change. And that change that's when the Federal Reserve came out and Jerome Powell talked about pain. And he was talking about pain. And since then, we've had actually the inventory going up slightly on a weekly basis. It went up 1% the last week and the week prior. So it's been continuing to go up. It hasn't really come down. I anticipate it's going to come down as soon as we get to the holidays. The holidays are soon. That is, it's usually a week prior to Thanksgiving is when all of a sudden, that's when our market slows down considerably. A lot of people will throw in the towel, enjoy Thanksgiving and the holidays because they were unsuccessful sellers, as well as we will get plenty of, we won't get as many for sale signs in the fewest number of homes coming on the market in November, especially the second half of November. And of course, the fewest of the year in December. So That was for all of the United States, by the way, detached houses. This is Southern California's active inventory, and you can see it also peaked, but then it went flat, and you can see it's kind of been flat for quite some time, and that has everything to do with the fact that interest rates have been going up in the background since Jerome Powell talked about pain. But we have been higher than this. We are below long-term averages. That's what the issue is. And when you see the number of available homes right now, on last week we reported that were there, and these are real numbers for last Thursday. When I do the presentation, it's very, very close, but we still have to scrub the data. This is after it's scrubbed. It's at 30,909. It was up 1% or up 297 for sell signs for that 2-week period of time. So like the United States, we went up 1%. We actually only went up 1% for 2 weeks. They went up, the United States went up 1% for the week. And last year we were at 18,439, which is 40% less than where we are today. And the 3-year average is 40,000. So we should have another 10,000 homes practically on the market, 9,000, a little over 9,000. That's 30% more than where we are today. We're making our way closer to that purple line. That purple line is very reminiscent of where the 3-year average is. And you can see we should have been slowly but surely coming down, but instead it has remained flat because interest rates continue to go up. And even the fewer number of homeowners that are, they're starting to languish on the market. They've had to do price reductions. Price reductions are up, and that's why the inventory hasn't come down, is because we're dealing with such muted demand. Today, we're at 30,602, and it actually went down a significant amount, like 300 homes. Now, you're thinking that's not a significant amount. That is the largest drop that we've had since the last 2 weeks of August. Because after those last 2 weeks of August, we got to September 1st. That's when they were talking about pain, and that's why we've flatlined since then. So now it is starting to go down, and that's because we're getting into this month of November. Fewer homeowners are actually coming on than even normal right now. It's a larger clip. I just showed that, as well as this is the slowest time of the year, and a lot of homeowners are going to pull their homes off the market. So you're going to see this continue to go down from here. This is where they, of course, were talking about pain, and you can see how things all of a sudden changed right after that pain point. Demand, the last 30 days worth of new escrow activity, is right all the way down to here. And if I draw a line across, there are very few other times where it was any lower than this. You could see one of them was at the very end of 2018, when the market really slowed with 5% interest rates. And the other one was when we first went into COVID. And you can see where we first went into COVID, that's that green line, the V on the left-hand side. October 27th, last week, we had 9,378 escrows for all of Southern California for a 30-day period of time. That is down 7%, or down 747 in a 2-week period of time. We were really coming down fast. Last year, we were at 17,556. That's a lot more. It's 87% higher. It's making its way towards double where we are today. And the 3-year average is 14,319, which is 53% higher than where we are today, which is closer to that purple line. But once again, that purple line, that's like a indicator. It's like 2019 of about where the average was for the 3 years prior to COVID. And today we're at 9,225. It went down another 2%. So we have inventory going down 1% and demand going down 2%. It's just not going down at the same clip because the number of escrows is so small anyways. It can't really fall at a giant rate. Will at the very, very end of the year, and because it always does. But I don't think it's going to be falling at the same rate that it had over like the past 6-7 weeks. And this is where the Fed came out and talked about pain. You could see what happened after that. Actually, the demand had risen prior to that, and then they talked about pain. And you could see how it leveled off, and then it went down. And that's what happened with demand. So with demand dropping as much as it is, and inventories remaining high, you can imagine with expected market time, the speed of the market, it is actually been slowing. And I want everybody out there to understand, you need to dump days on market. Days on market is a horrible, wacky statistic. I'm not liking averages, not liking median days on market. It will tell you nothing other than the number of the average or median days on market for closed sales is going to be way different than the market currently today. Also, it'll be much more muted compared to what I'm seeing because I'm watching demand diminish at a faster rate than the number of homes on the market. Those are looking at averages of homes that are available today, days on market. That won't tell you much. The expected market time is a statistic that's based upon the number of available homes and the velocity of demand. If escrow velocity all of a sudden drops, you're going to see expected market times rise. If all of a sudden the escrow velocity rises, you're going to see expected market times fall. So it's a much better barometer of the true speed of the market. It's if you have a car, it is the speedometer. Days on market is nothing more than the revs per minute. You know, that one that you don't look at, where it's like 2,000 revolutions per minute. Yeah, that one, that gauge is not reliable. That won't tell you anything. You'll get pulled over by a cop in a nanosecond. But this is where we are as far as expected market time is concerned. If you draw a line across, we have only been higher a few different times. And one of those was in 2020 when we first went into the pandemic, and another one was right over here when we had 5% interest rates. Actually, when we were at 5% interest rates, this is the very, very end of the year. This was November and December. It felt slower than where it's at today. But I imagine that the market's going to continue to slow, and it's going to surpass 2020 when we first went into COVID, and it's going to look a little bit like the spike for 5% by the time we get to the end of this year. So the market is going to continue to slow from where we are at right now. And you can see, boy, that is quite the upward trajectory line. October 27th, last week, we were at 99-day expected market time. That would be 99 days if you place your home on the market to when you're going to open up escrow. That was up 8 days in a 2-week period of time. So it was at 91 days 2 weeks prior in the middle of October. And by the end of October, there we are at 99 days. And last year at this time, we were at 32 days, much different. Anything below 40 is insane. We were at that insane level for nearly 2 years. So everybody anticipated this is the way the markets should behave. It's not. That is a totally abnormal market, not healthy at all. And we're done with that abnormal market. And so is the Fed. And you know what? It's going to be a better market on the other side after we take all this medicine that the Fed is feeding us. The 3-year average is 85 days. And that's prior to COVID. And today we're at 100 days. So for Southern California, we just hit 3 digits. We're at 100 days. And so it just barely went up. You can see it's not screaming up like it had recently. And that's because, since the Fed talked about pain, you could see it was really rising. Now it's going to rise at a slower rate. And the reason for that is because, like I said, demand is hitting some of its low levels where it can't really drive that much further down. The only time it will do that is at the very end of the year when there's nothing available. So we are in buyer's market area, regardless of how it lines up. It actually technically lines up balanced market if I'm looking at supply and demand without the big giant anvil of unaffordable high interest rates pushing down prices at this point. But and I showed you this last week, but I had a bit of time to think about how to present this at different office meetings that I've been doing, and this is how I'm going to show you. Above this purple line is that's a 6 months inventory. Above it is less than 6 month inventory. So the less the inventory, the hotter the market, right? This is the amount of inventory that's available. Below 6 months is where it's taken a lot longer to sell. It takes 6 months to exhaust the inventory. You can see that if it's greater than 6 months, you're not gonna do a whole heck of a lot in pricing. That blue line to the right is where you have increasing prices, and to the left is where you have decreasing prices. So this quadrant over here, this green quadrant, is where you have a low inventory, and the lower the inventory, you can actually see those dots in the upper right-hand corner, these dots that are like, let's see if I can even point to it. It's right over here. These dots over here, you have to understand those dots were this year. It was that hot where we were having values go up screaming higher. And because we had very low inventory and they were just screaming high. But so this is where you have low inventory. So you have rising values really fast. Now this red section on the bottom left-hand side is where you have inventories that are greater than 6 months. And the higher the greater than 6 months is, when we have like a 12-month inventory, you can see that values are really coming down. Now, those black lines, those black little triangles, these actually show you what happened. Way on the right, there's a May, then there's June, then there's July, then there's August. It just shows you how broken the model is right now, that in August, that's how much values came down in a month, even though we have an inventory of less than 4 months for all the United States. You can see what's happening is we're having values go down in a time where supply is still really low. It's not normal. You need to understand this. Buyers get it because they're in the marketplace. They don't have to really rush. They're able to really take their time, and they're going to want a little bit of a deal. Those buyers that are looking for gigantic deals, good luck. They're not going to find anybody that's going to give you a gigantic deal. But there are people that are willing to, come down a little bit off of what their expectations are. And sellers, you need to take a look at this to understand that this is a different kind of marketplace that you just don't understand. Low supply does not mean that values are going up. Values are actually going down, even though there's not enough homes available. If you want a copy of this, please, I'm inviting you to go to reportsonhousing.com. Please subscribe to our report. We have a great report that comes out on a every other week basis. We have them all over Southern California, and we're working on that Bay Area report. It's $15 a month or $150 per year, and you get a free month if you sign up utilizing the coupon code I'm about to give you. And the most recent one that came out Monday is Housing Haunted by the Fed. And I explain with interest rates what's going on and how they've changed, what they've meant by the housing needs to have a reset. And we go into all the different details of it, just talking about that specific thing. And then we go over available number of homes, the demand for the county, as well as luxury for the county. And then there's every single city that's broken down within our reports. Our reports are very specific to areas you could really drill down to various cities. Utilize the coupon fallback, because guess what we're doing on Sunday? I am getting an extra hour of sleep, and so are you. So thankfully, we're getting that extra hour of sleep. It's the one part of this time change. We all don't like it, but this is the one time that we don't mind it as much, because we get an extra hour of sleep. And that's all I have for everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, enjoying this month of November. We'll have a great weekend. Stay warm. Actually, I had to turn on my heater because my hands were cold, because it was like 60 degrees in my office. Haven't had to do that in a long time. So anyways, have a great weekend.